And welcome back to Clutch Time. Today we're talking about the biggest debate going around SimWorld right now, and that is the SWBA pathway debate. And so if you're not familiar with that, that is the particular path that a player can select to get to the SWBA. And so right now, the debate is, should it be one and done, two and through? And for me, I'm going to say none of the above. And so we'll be talking about that a little bit more here in a moment. And so let's go ahead and let's jump into it. And so if you've not got a chance to see this, you can head over to SimWorld, head to the media feed, and you'll be able to see this article, which is written by JK of CBS Sports. Make sure you check out the J-Rock Show as well to get some great insights around SimWorld. And so within this article, there is the debate that is raised because last year you had Cooper Flagg and then you also had Dylan Harper. Both players were freshmen and they were able to enter into the SWBA draft and they were picks number 1 and 2. And so that brings us to the debate point here as to what other players should be allowed to do. Should they be able to now go out and do the one and done? Should they still have to do two and through? And I'm throwing a scenario out there. Do you take it back to back in the day where you were able to just go from prep straight into the SWBA? And so let me say this before we jump into just really what might be the resolution here. I think that there's a risk in any scenario. I think that every single scenario that you look at, there is going to be a risk. And so let me throw that out there right now. It doesn't matter if you go 1 year. It doesn't matter if you go 4 years. It doesn't matter if you come straight from prep, whatever the case may be, wherever you're at, there is going to be a risk. And that's the bottom line. So with that being said, let's start with, I think the one that probably it would take the most risk. And this is something that we haven't seen in quite some time. And that's going from the preps straight to the SWBA. So the only player that I know that comes to mind that was successful right now, and that has been LeBron James, right? I think that we can all argue, or we can all probably agree, that LeBron James and his jump straight from prep was phenomenal. I can just tell you that just watching him when they were televised games, it was just like you knew he was different. And then watching his first game against the Sacramento Kings, in which he scored 25 points, I just remember telling myself, like, he did stuff in that game, in game 1, that I hadn't seen from people who had been in the league for 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. And so, that was definitely a different type of scenario. And LeBron James, man, an incredible athlete. He's obviously going to go down as one of the best all time. You can debate where you're at with him on the GOAT and everything. But still, I think that we are far removed, from seeing players that are going to be able to jump straight from the prep and then get to the SWBA level. I think that just the level of physicality now, the speed of the game, and just, the amount of risk that are with that. Because if you go straight in, you are definitely forfeiting your chance to go back to school. And so if the career doesn't pan out that way, you really don't have anything else to fall back on. And so I think that probably has the most risk. And so that leads us to the next point here, which is the one and done scenario. And so when we look at the one and done scenario, the person that I'm thinking about that was successful with one and done shortly after, and was actually still in the same draft class with LeBron at this time, was Carmelo Anthony. And so remember going back and looking at his games at Syracuse. They went on to win the national championship, and he just really didn't have anything else that I think he needed to prove at that point in time in college. And you could just tell that he was ready to go. And I think that he was pretty phenomenal for the Nuggets once he got to the league. And so, I think that when you look at the one and done scenario, to me, I think that probably is the best pathway at this point in time, because we just talked about the fact that there's going to be a risk in any scenario. And I just think that it's going to come down to the players making the best decision for them. Like, no matter what, institutions want to do as far as going ahead and saying, like, look, we want you to stay this amount of time or whatever, it's still going to be up to the players to make the decision. And so I think that because of that, if players feel like that they're ready to go, after 1 year, I think that we should go ahead and we should let players do so because, Cooper Flag and also too with Dylan Harper, yes, these guys were phenomenal players, but I think the bottom line is that, there's some players that maybe they're not to their level, but they are ready to make an immediate impact. I think that a lot of people would look at a player like Justin Bell, who I've looked at here, and I've said, look, I think that Justin Bell, I don't know if there's anything else that he needs to do in Villanova this upcoming season because I think he is ready to go at the SWBA right now. Same thing can be said about a guy like Nas Hall. I thought that Nas Hall, what he was able to do in his freshman year, I'm not sure if there's anything else that he needs to do to go back and necessarily round out his game. And the same for a guy like D'Angelo Jordan. All these guys were mentioned in the article. Like, these are players that were huge impacts for their teams. They showed a ton of potential at year one. And so I just don't think that there's anything necessarily that they can gain from that. However, for every player that is able to come out and perhaps be a top lottery pick or, at least picked in the first round, there's going to be several players, that just, they're not ready. Like, even if they come out, they're still probably needed to go ahead and round out their game or whatnot. And so you just really, that's where it comes down to the whole thing of like, it's going to depend on just that given player because, nowadays you have the VIL money, right? So you can stay in school and you can still make money, right? And you can still get your degree. You can also go ahead and stay in school and you can round out your game and you can potentially go ahead and increase your draft stock. But there's the chance that you can also get passed up. Your game can kind of decrease a little bit. And also, too, you hope this doesn't happen, but you could get injured. And then if you get injured, then you're going to lose out on millions of M's, right? Or more importantly, what happens with that, or I should say, unfortunately, what happens with that, not more importantly, you would actually lose out on your dream. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, the bottom line is with these players, it's their dream. It's their career path. When you go into the workforce, nobody's going to sit there and put restrictions onto, hey, you can't go into this pathway or whatever. Like, the moment that you decide that you want to go into that career, whatever the case may be, you take the step forward and you try to get there as quick as possible. So for me, if you want to go out there and you want to do the one and done deal, I think that you should go ahead and do so. Just remember, there's going to be a consequence no matter what happens. There is the chance that you could get to a team and it doesn't work out. And if it doesn't work out, you don't necessarily get the role that you were looking for. Your game is not ready for the SWBA level. Like, all those things are on the table. But keep in mind, even if you do the to and through, that can still happen. You could still come out. You could still get drafted by a team and they don't know what they're doing in the front office. You get to a place where it's absolute chaos. And that's going to impact your career. And so, I mean, it's a risk either way you go. But for me, where I'm going is I think that there should at least be a one and done situation here. I think that you give a kid a chance to go out there onto the campus. You get them a chance to really find out maybe what their interests might be outside of basketball. And so maybe they want to stick there and they say, okay, I can see the long-term vision outside of this, and I want to go ahead and see this thing through and get the degree. Or, it could be about, hey, you get there and you get developed another year, you get some more relationships, and then you feel like you're ready to go off and go for your career. I mean, that could be a pathway as well. Either way, there's some pluses and minuses to it. And so to continue debate, let me know what you guys are thinking here in the comments. Are you with the one and done? Are you with to and through? Or are you with none of that? I'd love to hear what the debate is. So there is no right or wrong answer. And so anyway, as we always say, look, go SimWorld, and I will see you guys on the next one. And see the game, be the game. Peace.